The gentlewoman from Colorado, Ms. Boebert, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for being here today and testifying before our committee. Mr. Blakemore, clearly China is dominating the entire world when it comes to mineral supply chains, but why is that? Why are we so desperately far behind the curve when it comes to China and these rare earth minerals?
It's a combination of multiple factors. First and foremost, China embarked on a aggressive strategy of investing in upstream resources abroad, right? And those investments drew a lot of those resources domestically to China, where it was able to construct a pretty strong market share on the processing part of key supply chains. Facilitated also by high subsidization and in some cases rather lax environmental regulation. That's gotten us to the point now where China's market incumbency both puts it ahead of the United States in terms of certain supply chain resiliency efforts, but also makes reducing that market incumbency a little bit sticky given the economics associated with those respective supply chains.
Do you think that the President Trump administration, his executive orders in 2017 that were proposed steps to form a national strategy to strengthen our domestic supply chains, do you think that would have helped in this and so we wouldn't be so far behind the curve?
I think the efforts more broadly by over the course of several administrations actually have advanced a more holistic approach to thinking about our supply chain resiliency. The Trump administration, to its credit, did a lot of work to think specifically about upstream resiliency. However, upstream resiliency alone is not a solution to supply chain resiliency, right? And I think as our thinking and strategic planning around supply chain resiliency matures, moving down the supply chain as well and thinking about the on-take and off-take of various components of the supply chain to build that strategy is also necessary. So I look at the Trump administration decision as one piece, a critical piece, but one piece of what I would call a healthy supply chain resiliency strategy.
Thank you. It sounds like we would agree that the way the United States determines what is considered a critical mineral and how we manage these supply chains and what production advantages, if any, listed critical minerals we receive over unlisted mineral commodities is of national importance. Dr. Eggert, you have been involved in critical mineral and material assessments for decades, and it seems that these assessments have helped highlight some of the challenges that we're facing, but are we as a nation making headway in improving our situation with respect to critical minerals?
I think we are making improvements, but there's always room for more improvement. I think in terms of three specific areas where we should focus attention. First, research and development throughout the entire supply chain. Second, workforce development. It takes workers to mine the minerals and do the various downstream processing activities, and we've lost much of that capability. And third, there's significant room for improvement in permitting and associated pre-production activities, not to minimize or reduce the importance of environmental protection or interaction with local communities, but in a way that gets us to yes or no and how in terms of project development sooner.
Thank you. And Mr. Summers, to me it seems that this administration says one thing about mining in America, but does something completely different. They do another thing. Has the critical materials list yielded any results in terms of creating jobs or economic development in your state? We just heard that one improvement to the supply chain and this energy security would be to improve the workforce.
Yeah, I do think that there's utility in highlighting the supply chain vulnerabilities that we have, but in terms of bringing specific investment or jobs to the state because a mineral is on the list or not on the list, we haven't seen that in Utah. And I think that the bigger issues are some of the other things that we've talked about. I mean, it's what's the federal government's policy, especially in a public land state like Utah. What are the federal government's policies with regard to how you can open up and permit and develop a mine? And then also, you know, is the federal government going to come in and make the economics of a mining project more difficult because of royalty rates or other things that they might be contemplating? So I think that those are the more important issues as opposed to whether a mineral's on a list or not.
Thank you. And Mr. Chairman, may I ask one yes or no question, Mr. Sommers?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. So has the Biden administration's decision to leave out critical minerals like uranium and helium on the list had any adverse impacts on job creation or economic development? And you can expand later, but maybe just for now, yes or no?
I think that it has, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for all of you and your time here today. I yield.
Thank you very much. Our next representative